you really don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. But we're dealing with a Supreme Court that is not only far right, but they're tech illiterate, they're geriatric, they don't know what the they're doing.
Right, not only just the tech illiteracy, the whole fact that conservatives online for the past, I feel like at least 3 or 4 years, due to their complete misunderstanding or purposeful misunderstanding of what Section 230 is, have gone on this campaign to get rid of Section 230, thinking that's the reason why conservative content has been, taken down or moderated on these platforms, which is the complete opposite of the reality of the situation.
I do have a question already that is a timely question, asking what do you think could happen as a result of the YouTube CEO resigning today and being replaced by Neil Mohan or Mohan?
So listen, I'm of the belief that it's always better to work with the devil you know as opposed to the devil that you don't know. But I'm not even thinking about the CEO of YouTube, because for those of you worried about the future of YouTube, so this next coming week, pay very close attention to the Supreme Court hearings, because there's going to be oral arguments for 2 cases. Twitter v. Tamena, I believe. I could be butchering that. And Google v. something. Anyways, these 2 cases are literally going to decide the fate of the internet. And that's not hyperbole. I have a video dropping tomorrow. So what's in question is Section 230. And the question is, can these internet service providers be allowed to publish anyone without legal ramifications, or can they not? Will that still be the status quo? There's a bunch of different outcomes here, and all of them could be bad. And it's hard, it's very complex, but basically what this means is, in the event the Supreme Court repeals Section 230, YouTube, Google, all of the, or not Google, but YouTube, Twitter, all of these social media giants, they might take swift action to protect themselves. So either hyper moderate everything, which means more censorship, or not do any moderation at all, allow death threats to go on. It depends on how this goes. It can go in a number of different ways, but it could lead to YouTube being crushed, for example, because if Section 230 is repealed or portions of it are gutted, YouTube may have to forego the algorithm, essentially. That's one of the outcomes that could come up as a result of this. So if that happens, then YouTube could be transformed into Dropbox, to where there's no algorithm to promote our content. It's just we have a link when we upload, and you have to find our content. Because if they're open to lawsuits, because Section 230 is repealed, they're not going to promote our content because they could be sued for that. That's the crux of the suit. It's so complicated. I have a 14-minute video dropping tomorrow. Watch it, because it's really scary, and that's what everyone should pay attention to. A lot of my following found me during the net neutrality days. This is net neutrality on steroids. It's genuinely horrifying, and the internet a year from now could be very, very different looking.
Are you guys hearing the same thing I'm hearing? YouTube promotes Mike's content? Is anyone else hearing this? Getting a load of this?
Relatively speaking.
This may actually help us. Puts us all on an even playing field.
I could be persuaded about various different updates maybe to Section 230 that would possibly make it stronger and better, but overall Section 230 is a very good thing for the internet. Yes. Like Mike was saying, it could fundamentally, I don't know exactly if that scenario is something that would actually come to fruition, but it would certainly, the loss of Section 230 would certainly change how media and really any sort of content is put online. And I think we often focus too much on the YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and what these big tech companies are going to do to protect themselves. But the fundamental change with those big tech companies, honestly, is not going to be all that much compared to what it will do to basically your website, any sort of small business, tech company, any sort of a small press organization, a freelance journalist, because Section 230 covers all of those people too.
Right.
You cannot be held liable for what someone comes and if they you're in a Substack and someone comes in the comments of one of your Substack pieces and says something that could get someone into legal trouble, you will not be held responsible for that commenter because of Section 230. Your website will have to worry about these sorts of things if there is no more Section 230. You won't be covered by these sort of things. You will be held legally liable for what even third parties upload to your platform. Whatever your platform may be. So I think often we focus too much on, and YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, they make tons of money. So I'm sure they'll figure out some way to still get the content flowing. Maybe people like us who probably don't make them too much money wouldn't get our, who knows how they would handle it, but maybe our content would be held up until it's reviewed or something, but they'll find a way to get it out there. It's the other sorts of platforms and even your own personal platforms that you have, a blog, whatever, that's going to be what gets really hit by changes to Section 230.
Yeah, and there's two portions to Section 230 that the liberals and the conservatives are against. Trump was against Section 230 because it gives tech giants and social media websites the ability to regulate content, moderate their own content. Now, the left thinks that they're not going far enough. I should say liberals, not the left. So the other portion of Section 230 is that, as Matt was pointing out, if somebody posts something on their platform, YouTube, for example, can't be sued because of what that person posted because they're not publishing it themselves. They're just acting as like a neutral platform for everyone else. So both of these provisions are in play here, and nobody really knows what the internet will look like if either one of these or both of them are overturned by the Supreme Court. So that's why it's something to really pay attention to, because we don't know, basically. Like, I was listening to an expert, Dr. Goldman. He was interviewed by Philip DeFranco, and he's an expert on Section 230, and he was explaining that you really don't know what the outcome of this is going to be, but we're dealing with a Supreme Court that is not only far right, but they're tech illiterate, they're geriatric, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so to put the fate of the internet in their hands is horrifying. So
not only just
different a year from now.
Right, not only just the tech illiteracy, the whole fact that conservatives online for the past, I feel like at least 3 or 4 years, due to their complete misunderstanding or purposeful misunderstanding of what Section 230 is, have gone on this campaign to get rid of Section 230, thinking that's the reason why conservative content has been, taken down or moderated on these platforms, which is the complete opposite of the reality of the situation. They're able to post on these platforms and spread whatever vile bullshit they want to spread because of Section 230, because otherwise YouTube, Facebook, and all these companies, it wouldn't just be, we have content policies just so we don't get people yelling at us about misinformation and stuff. No, they would take down this shit because they wouldn't want to legally be held responsible in this case. In fact, it wouldn't even be takedowns. This shit would never get up in the first place without Section 230, because they wouldn't want to be held, any sort of responsibility whatsoever for what this stuff is. It's a complete shit show what's going on here, and it will be a big problem. It will be a big problem. And also, we should add an addendum that Section 230 also doesn't give them free reign to just let whatever go up.
True.
It gives them for material that actually is legal or people uploading copyrighted material that doesn't belong to them or whatever. It gives these platforms a reasonable amount of time, and I believe Section 230 also uses terminology like that, reasonable, to not give it a specific amount of time. It just says something like a reasonable amount of time to act and take things down so they won't be held legally responsible. This doesn't say that a platform can just decide to host a child abuse material and not be held legally responsible. That's not the case at all. Section 230 just enables them to have a specific amount of time to take material down if it is illegal, for example, and not be held responsible. And if like a party decides to take action against someone for like, I don't know, something like slander or something like that, they would have to go after that third party that posted on the platform, not the platform itself, because they wouldn't be held legally responsible.
Yeah, so just pay attention, folks, because this is very, very important. And there's a lot of Supreme Court cases that are important. For example, Moore v. Harper, really consequential. But this is one that's kind of flying under the radar, but it's popped back up because they're going to be hearing oral arguments this next week. So keep that on your radar. Just wanted to put that out there.
I just got a
really,
question
really
as a Canadian to the Americans when it comes to the Supreme Court. Like when you say keep this on your radar, I'm all for making tons of noise about this and obviously making a lot of people aware of what's going on. But ultimately, it's going to be their decision to make regardless, right? Like we're still going to have to sit back and just watch this happen, and it's most likely going to be the worst possible outcome, right? Like prepare for that.
Yeah, I mean it's not like the FCC. Like when they proposed repealing net neutrality back in 2017, there was this long comment period where the public was able to weigh in. Now that comment was flawed and whatnot, but with the Supreme Court, all we can do is cross our fingers and hope and pray that they don't fuck this up. And odds are they're going to fuck this up. Like Clarence Thomas has already vocalized a little bit of interest in overturning Section 230. So that's one. But in terms of like what the others are going to do, we don't know. Clarence Thomas has no principles here. He's just saying that he doesn't like Section 230 because Trump said the same thing. So how they're going to roll, it's anyone's guess. So that's what makes this so horrifying. It's because of the uncertainty. So all you could do is speculate about what the internet will look like. But any change that they make will have a ripple effect across the entire internet.
That's terrible.
I do wonder how this would impact countries like ours, like Canada, where this wouldn't necessarily apply on the books, even though YouTube is based in the US. Mm-hmm. I wonder, would they still be able to operate normally within the confines of other countries? Like, would the US be sort of like siloed out of social media if like the worst happened? Because I don't know how all of that would work out.
Yeah, that's part of the uncertainty, right?
Say that again. With the USB.
So say Section 230 is repealed. What happens in Canada? What happens in Europe?
Oh, like, I think the opposite would be the case. I think you would all be now running under. I mean, these companies operate out of the U.S. for the most part. I mean, the big tech companies we're talking about, and so they would probably just put out a overarching new policy regarding this based on whatever the ruling on Section 230 is, just like how the GDPR is a European set of privacy rules, but a lot of companies have instituted those same laws here in the U.S. just because it's easier to just have an overarching group of laws and not just run things by the laws in specific countries. I mean, what happened here is that after GDPR was passed in Europe, California passed their own set of privacy laws based on the success of the GDPR, and then that pushed forward even further for these companies to just have these privacy laws over like a rule basically over all these other states. Like we're basically it's not technically illegal in certain states the way it is in California, but a lot of these companies are operating just like, it's easier, just we have to abide by the California law. It's going to cost more to have these different sets of rules for every little place. So we're just going to create this one policy based on what we have to abide to by this law and just make it across the board.
Yeah. And that's why the net neutrality repeal hasn't been as devastating as a lot of people initially expected. I mean, certainly it's been harmful, but because states like California and New York were able to get their own net neutrality laws, I think that that's part of the reason why it hasn't had this big widespread effect that we feared. Now, the FCC, to go back to net neutrality, they actually tried to preempt states and block them from passing their own net neutrality laws, but that was actually struck down by a court. So they did do that. And now, why create this different setting, as Matt was talking about, just have it be universal across the board and keep fighting. So that's like an ongoing battle, just to be clear. These ISPs are trying to block Gigi Sohn from getting confirmed, who would give Democrats the majority to completely undo the net neutrality repeal. So they're still fighting that, and they still want net neutrality to go the way of the dodo, like entirely for all 50 states. But, with California, New York, Washington, Oregon, other states having net neutrality, that like throws a wrench in their plans. So it's all really, really complicated. And I would say, like, if you follow anyone on this, I would recommend Evan Greer and Carl Bode. They're really great tech writers. Also, somebody named Matt Binder is a great writer at Mashable. Great source on this you could follow.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.